Well, we've seen God provide for us as a family. Brian he provided for us when we met. He protected us when we married at very young, and he's been with us ever since.
I've seen God work in different ways in my family and in my faith community. And there's two things that I'm really a big part of in this church and in this community, and it's my Celebrate Recovery ministry that I'm a very big part of that has really helped a lot of people, and I love what that stands for and just how much that's helped. God is just working miracles through that program, and I'm so happy to be on the leadership team of that, and it's a great thing. And
so for a family, I kind of feel like the biggest place in which I see God growing is in our children. Our oldest daughter reads her Bible every night, and it's inspiring to me and encouraging to me. This is a big credit not to us, but to other people in her life, people like Jennifer Porter and Nan Camp, who have encouraged her to read her Bible. And it's been a real blessing for her. It's amazing when your daughter looks at you and says something like, "Dad, what is a friendship offering? Why would anybody need a friendship offering?" And you can have a real rich conversation there. And
we started off our married life in Stillwater, and he called us to Edmond, Oklahoma. We were there for a while, and then he called us all the way to Pepperdine, and now he's called us to Lubbock. And we've seen God provide for us at each step of the way.
And also my single parent ministry that has changed my life and so many other people's lives, and it's such a great thing. And we're part of a big church, and I think that God really wants us to grow together in smaller communities that we can work with each other and walk with each other and just live life together, and through hard times and through great times, and just help hold each other up.
So for community, I think the biggest place in which I see God making a difference is in groups who maybe years ago would have been considered on the outside of community. They're now being adopted and becoming part of the community. I think of groups like we spent with the children's home a few weeks ago, or groups like those you might meet at Carpenter's Church. I think it's wonderful to see people who are from very different walks of life and people who are involved and have very different struggles and day-to-day activities coming together and worshiping God together and developing and forming community together. So first, I want to say I love the way this question is worded, because I like the way how it's worded as, how did God invite you to partner? I think so often in my life and in others' life, as we look backwards, we tend to have this burden of looking into ourselves to find out how to serve God. We look in ourselves and say, what am I good at? What am I gifted at? What am I talented at? And those are good conversations. But I think it's a very different conversation to look outside of yourself and say, in what ways is God inviting me? And I think there's a truth when you read the Bible and you see people of the Bible that God invites people to do things that they may not feel very gifted or talented at.
Because I've been broken so much, and I've been so far down, and I know what it feels like to be that broken. I think God calls us to be parts of each other's lives. And I can see someone that is just hurting as much as I was, and it gives me hope. And I see hope in that. I see hope because I can see that it's not the end. And even though it feels like the end when you're living it, if we look for people that need help like that, God can work miracles. He can help in so many ways, and I think we're called to help other people.
God surprised us with an invitation several years ago when He called us both at the same time and in different ways to homeschool our children. We were very surprised by this calling. That was not part of either one of our pasts or either one of our plans for the future, but we felt called to do that with our children, and shown us that the real purpose of education, we think about educating our children for the future, is to know God and to make Him known.
I mean, in many ways, standing here right now, being on this panel and being on this video is me saying yes to something I'm not really comfortable with. I've never felt like an evangelist. I've never been the person who's a real cheerleader, salesman for Christ. But I think maybe that's good to have me talking in front of you just for this reason, because I think a lot of other people probably feel just like me. But God is calling us to evangelism even if we feel like that's not our gift. And it may look something very different than the classic view of you're going to knock on a door and tell someone about Christ. It may look something more like you are being involved in the life of a kindergartner. You are mentoring a high school student. It may look very different than that.